Hello, this is Edith. How are you doing? Hey, I hope you remember that I wrote a book called The Mystery of Adam. And if you have not looked it up on Amazon, please do so. It's my personal research, it's a biblical research into the creation of humankind. So please look it up if you're new to my channel. I have to do marketing once in a while. So Edith Neumeyer, The Mystery of Adam. It's an excellent book and helps you understand the role of men and women in the church and in godly marriage, Christian marriage. Okay, Christian marriage. So, anyways, today I want to continue with Babylon the Great. I want to look at different places in the Bible where you can find also who this Babylon the Great is, because we have, 4 places where we can actually compare definitions, who this Babylon is, because she is existing in other places. So first we're going to look at Daniel 7, of course, 7, and there we find her as the little horn. You can compare the definitions there with her. Okay, of course, there it is the little horn, and this little horn rules all 10 kings. She rules them. Okay. And there she is more a king. That's male. And then people say, well, but she is a woman. These are only symbolisms, right? Only symbolisms. She's not really a woman. It's just symbolizing her as a church. Okay? That's all there's to it. And in Daniel 7, she's symbolized more as a king or a kingdom. Really, it's a kingdom because the horn is a kingdom. Every these horns are kingdoms. So not just one king, but kingdoms. And Daniel uses king many times when he really means to say kingdom, more than one king. Because we also see that in Daniel 11, because here we have the same person or the same institution, same kingdom. But again, we're hearing about it as a king. Okay? As a king. Oh, and I forgot. Of course, we have this. I needed to read it in English, right? And I'm not going to read King James because, oh my goodness, I just break my tongue reading it. So, New King James will be fine with me. I can do that. So then we go to Daniel 11:31. No, well, 36, sorry. Then the king shall do according to his own will. He shall exalt and magnify himself above every god, shall speak blasphemies against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the wrath has been accomplished. God's wrath. That's how long he will actually be in charge or in existence. Now, it's not going to be, again, one king. It's a kingdom. And what kingdom are we talking about? We're talking about the kingdom of the Vatican. Okay? Why? Because we're comparing it, not only here, we're comparing it to the little horn. And the little horn is a small kingdom, the smallest kingdom. Vatican is the smallest kingdom on this earth. Has a king. We talked about it in my last video. So that's how we put all the information together and say this is the same institution. Okay? Again, 2 Thessalonians 2, Paul talks about the man of lawlessness or the man of perdition, we can go there as well, who is acting like God, okay, who makes himself God, and who sits in the temple of God. And we have to define every one of these things. What is the temple of God? What does Paul think the temple of God is? Temple of God is the church, according to Paul. See, we have to combine all these definitions to come to the conclusion who it is. We can't assume. I can't assume that's who it is. No, I'm bringing together information from everybody. Okay, so now we have Daniel 7, Daniel 11. If you continue to read, okay, who this guy is, God of gods, and shall prosper till the wrath of God accomplish, for what has been determined shall be done. He shall regard neither the God of his father, nor the desire of women. Should be obvious. Not regard any God, for he has himself will exalt himself above them all. Okay, you can continue to read. This is the man of sin that Paul was talking about. Okay, so again, who is this guy? This is the Vatican. This is papacy. Okay, papacy. He is the one who acts like God. How do we know that? We can look back now in history and say, is that the truth? Did papacy do that? Well, of course. Who founded papacy? Who founded the Roman Catholic Church? That was Constantine. What did Constantine do? He combined all churches, and I already said that in my last video. He combined all churches and put himself as head in the church. Obvious. He's had himself celebrated as reincarnated Son of God until his death. We know that. It's fact. And this, every emperor kept that for himself. Reincarnated Son of God until who knows. They said they did keep Christianity, but what they did is they kept all things heathen and just kind of changed things around to make it look like it's Christian. They still continue to use their own cathedrals that they used, right? The temples for their gods, the cathedrals, they left them and converted them into now churches. Before that, there was no churches, buildings, cathedrals, basilicas. No, people met in houses. So they converted everything. Clergy. There was no clergy before. Everybody had gifts and they shared it in the community of believers. Constantine got that in, okay? Because those were the priests. They had priests too of the gods. So they just left them. So they converted everything. They changed everything and kind of Christianized it. In other words, they made it look like it's Christianity so people could actually continue. But eventually, everything became pagan, or the pagan stuff became Christianized. And then people just followed their old pagan rituals. Because that's what we have in the Roman Catholic Church, is pagan rituals. Everything is pagan rituals. Everything is a combination of whatever, paganism, and they put a kind of Christian facade on it. So that's what happened. We can see that exactly in what the Bible, how did the Bible describe it. But we have to look at the history and see, when did these things happen? What really happened? Okay? This is what happened. And we can see this here with the king shall do according to his will. Okay? And then 4 it says, at the time of the end, okay, relative end, right? The king of the south will attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. Who's the king of the south? Well, the king of the south, I believe, was the Ottoman Empire that almost overtook Europe. They already came, I think, all the way to Vienna. And who defeated him? This German emperor. Okay? Because, again, the Pope depends on the worldly armies. And then there's one that comes from the north, the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots, horsemen, with many ships. And I believe that could have been Napoleon. Because that's happened too, that Napoleon actually took out the Pope. Yes, he did. And then he was again allowed back into the Vatican. It wasn't too far in the past. But yeah, he was really kicked out of his little ruling whatever Vatican by one of the generals of Napoleon. You can read that too. So that all happened. Okay? So that's what I believe here, history-wise, happened. Of course, he continued all the way to the end. So now we know who this Babylon the Great is and how many times she was described in the Bible. Never used the word Antichrist. Never. Okay? The man of sin, the man of perdition, the man or the king that does what he wants, the little horn. These are all descriptions of Babylon the Great. Okay? All the descriptions of that Babylon the Great. So now we will go to the end of this whore. Okay? End of this whore. This king who did what he pleased, and he ruled everybody, and he controlled everybody, and he deceived everybody. And he had everybody killed too. I'm not saying he did it, but he had everybody killed. He had everybody deceived. Why? Because he wanted to be God. He wanted to be the God of this world. He thought he was the God of this world. But of course, who's behind it? It's of course Satan, right? Yeah. Because Satan wanted to be the God of this world. He knew when he was kicked out, he only has a little while left. And he wanted to be God of this world. And this is how this pyramid of power works, which I use quite a lot. Pyramid of power. So you can visualize it. Okay? Here you have up there the all-seeing eye, underneath the Vatican, and of course the Jesuit who infiltrate in every merchant group, in every merchant, and anything that has money, they infiltrate and control them, and they will give the plan from above, from Satan to these people, so they will do the will of Satan. Now, do they know that they're really serving Satan? I don't know. Catholics most likely don't know that they're actually really serving Satan. My mother doesn't know that. Okay? My family doesn't know that. They're thinking they're doing a good deed, and they think they're good Christians, and they're pleasing God and all that stuff, because they don't want to die and go to purgatory, right? Yeah, they don't know. They want to do their best. So yeah, I'm not going against these poor sheep, those poor souls that are lost. Not against those. They need to be saved. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm talking about the establishment, and the establishment knows it. Do the Jesuits know what they're doing? I think they also are brainwashed to believe that they're serving the Pope, and the Pope is directly under God, and God speaks directly to the Pope. And is it the truth? No. It's not how the system works, but they believe it. Okay? They believe that they're really serving God. At least probably most of the, the Jesuits. And the same thing with the merchants. Oh, maybe they're just thinking, oh, they're doing a good deed, so they will get a good place in heaven. Okay? I'm giving everybody an excuse, I guess. But it's not that easy. Because we need to think. Everybody is held accountable, people. Everybody is held accountable eventually. You will not be able to make little excuses for yourself when you stand before God. No, you don't. Everybody has a choice, and you can ignore things or you don't. But now let's go to Revelation 18. After these things I saw another angel coming from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried with a mighty and a loud voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison of every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean, hated bird. For all nations, listen. This is not just one nation or Europe or anybody. It is all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. What is her fornication? She's fornicating with what? Heathen gods. Heathenism, paganism. Okay? That's what it is she's doing. Heathen gods. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. They go to her and bow down to her. All kings, including the ones that say they're Protestants. How many Protestant leaders make deals with the Pope and bow down to the Pope? Not necessarily, is it? Why does he have such a position in this world? Why? Because everybody bows down to him. Okay? Even our leaders. It says all the kings of the earth committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. Okay? So all the merchants, all the kings are tied to her. Whether they know it, whether we know it or not, there is a tie to Babylon the Great. Well, we don't see it, right? Oh, that's conspiracy. No, that's not conspiracy. That's what the Bible says. Okay? That's what the Bible says. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, lest you receive her plagues. Those are the plagues of the wrath of God. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to the works. In the cup which she has mixed with luxury, mixed double for her. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow, for she says in her heart, I sit as queen, and I'm not a widow, and I will not see sorrow. Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judges her. In 1 hour, she'll be burned. Okay? She will be destroyed. And the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn. Why? Because they got rich by her. Okay? And then all the merchandise is mentioned. And those are merchandises that John remembered from his time, right? They're not merchandises today. What are the merchandises today that she has her hands in? Merchants are working for her. We don't see that very much today because, they're not going to say that. They're not going to say, oh, I'm working for really Babylon the Great, right? It seems like when people say follow the money, they stop with the merchants. And really, what does it say here? These merchants really worked for Babylon the Great. Remember, I talked about this pyramid of power all the time. Right there, the merchants and the politicians. Okay? But over above them is more, like the Jesuits, who have the plans from where? Vatican, right? From papacy, the Black Pope maybe, and then Satan. That's how the pyramid goes. And people only stop with these merchants, with these kings that are really bowing down to Babylon the Great. And they're working for her. And they're standing there mourning, okay, when she fell. They threw dust on their heads and cried out, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, that great city, in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth. For in her hour she is made desolate. Okay? Choice over her, O heaven. Because they were killed. Now, we're not too worried about, or I'm not saying that I'm not worried, but the thing is not that they just were killed, but they were deceived. How many were deceived? How many? Then the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, threw it into the sea, saying, thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down and shall not be found any more. Okay, any more. And then at the end we have something important to read too. And the voice of the bridegroom will not be heard in her, for your merchants were the great men of the earth. Your merchants, her merchants, all the merchants, okay, bow down to her. At least the big ones. Because that's how they get rich, people. You understand? That's how they get rich. Filthy rich. Because they bow down to Babylon the Great. Okay? And to her plans. Do they know that they're bowing down to Satan really? Maybe not. Okay, I don't know. It says, for your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery all the nations were deceived. Okay? Deception is her thing. What is this sorcery here? Remember, that is the word pharmakia. Pharmakia. And when we follow that word, the original word pharmakia, we get to alchemy. And it's not anymore sorcery in terms of spells, right? But sorcery in terms of magic potions or poisonous potions. Okay, that's what a lot of witches use as well. Not just spells, but poisonous potions. And of course, that's what we have in alchemy. This testing with chemicals and changing things and seeing how it works in the human body. And that all came out of the Roman Catholic Church. The first people that used these things were the Roman Catholic doctors. Okay, and they continued to use it. And they killed the women that healed naturally. They called them witches. So people had to go to these assigned people that supposedly healed the population now with these potions. You understand that? I hope you do. Maybe you need to get into history of medicine. History of medicine. There was a guy called Chocolate66 on YouTube, and I think he is also Hour of Truth on BitChute, and he did a series on history of medicine, and that was interesting, and how the author traced it back to the Catholic Church. Okay, so yeah, pharmakia, we see it here, comes out of the Roman Catholic Church, and they're only potions, and they're making people sick, and they're experimenting with people. We know what's happening today, look, people. But they killed the people, they killed the women that were naturally healing people in the Dark Ages as witches. Oh, they have something to do with Satan. But they were not. And they're doing still the same thing today. You know, when I am saying certain things, then, you know, natural healing, then, oh, no, false medical advice. Yeah, still happening, right? Still happening. Okay? But anyways, it says right here, this is what she's doing. She has been doing that. And we are thinking we still have to wait for an Antichrist. We're still thinking we have time. Oh, things still going to have to happen. Yeah, things still going to have to happen. No, nothing. It's here. If God does not intervene soon, then Sodom and Gomorrah will scream and say, why in the world did you punish us? Or the people before the flood. They will scream and say, why in the world, Lord, did you punish us? And these people, they got away with really worse than murder, with torturing people, using them for guinea pigs. Yeah, experimenting with humankind has been going on way too long, way too long. And you think God's going to continue? Really? That's because you have no idea really what's going on. No idea about the things that have been going on in this world and what's already going on. Oh, we are so tied to the TV. We watch horror things all the time. Oh, but that's not natural. It shows human nature, how horrible human nature is, how gruesome human nature is. And I'll tell you right now, I don't even know if most people are still humans or not. And then again, you ask yourself, what is human? Okay? People don't understand. What is human? Well, I'm a human. I'm a Christian. But what is really Christian? What is really human? If I'm a human being and somebody else is a human being, can I torture that person to death? Okay? Or can I prolong a life, this people's life, so I can continue to torture that person? Is that human? And why do we have this kind of attitude? Where is it coming from? Of course, it comes from Satan and him destroying humankind during the fall. I think something happened during the fall with our DNA, that we became this selfish and really horrible humans. And then, of course, during the fall, before the flood, same thing happened. Something got all messed up in human DNA. We know that. We're saying, oh yeah, Noah and his 3 sons made it. But we also know that the giants reappeared. So something must have still been going wrong with our DNA. And that's how we became so bloodthirsty. And of course, then we're going to add a possession, demonic possession, or possession of fallen angels to it, and we have the biggest disaster. We're no longer human beings. Somebody is going to use our body, and that's about it, and the rest is being snuffed out. And all the things that we're putting in our body today, same thing will happen. What are we putting in our body? Well, let's start with fluoride. I'm not even going to use the other things other stuff that they're putting in our body, but well, let's start with fluoride and see what kind of damage fluoride does to your brain. Like let's say the brain. They did already research showing clearly that it really limits your intelligence. What else it does? Okay, do your own research. Do your own research. But I'm coming to an end. This is what we're having here. This is the progression, chronological progression. Not only in Revelation, but I brought in other sources today to show you what is going on and to help you understand really what you need to be looking for. And it's not an antichrist, because the man of sin is here, has been here. Okay? The beast is here. The beast out of the earth is here. This false prophet is here. It's terrible. That's the United States, isn't it? Some people say, oh, the United States, Babylon the Great. No. We're just bowing down to Babylon the Great. You should really know that. You should really know that. Okay? That's why we have so many symbolism of the Vatican here in the United States, because we're bowing down. Look at all the symbolism, for instance, in Washington, D.C. Okay? Isn't that symbolic with the Vatican? The obelisk? The Capitol? Yeah, don't you see the connection here? No, we're not Babylon the Great. We are the false prophet. And a false prophet is a prophet for who? A false god, a false church. Yeah. Oh no, we don't want to know that, because hey, the United States is a Christian nation. Christian nation. Sure. I understand all the wonderful things that so many Christians did in the world. But what else did they bring? False theology, false teachings in the world. Falsehood about democracy. They speak democracy and they mean war. They speak democracy, but they speak, tyranny. Oh, no, you can't say that, Edith. No, the United States wants to really bring democracy into the world. Yeah, then why do we have all these wars? Why do we not sit down with people and make peace? Why? Oh yeah, well, we give a peace, we give Obama a peace, Nobel Prize for Peace, right? But then he is the president with the most wars. He didn't have a day without a war. How many times did he go someplace and make peace? Not once. Why not? Because it was not in his interest. Because it was not in the interest of the Pope to make peace. And Obama was already chosen by the Pope. That's why he had Biden as the vice president. That's why. That's exactly why. Oh yeah, they infiltrated, believe me, in the United States. And people, you know very well that I have made videos about that as well. Okay? But, coming to an end, time is pretty serious. Very serious. And we need to be ready. Actually, I'm praying every day that the Lord will come. And lately, it's not because of me. Lately, it's because of all those people out there that are being tortured. Yeah, people are being tortured. Being tortured. They're being used as guinea pigs. Humankind is being more and more destroyed. Like it's not already destroyed enough. But no, we need to snuff it out completely. So there is not one human thinking person around. No, we need to snuff that out. Humanity is a disgrace, and we need to destroy it. That's what the thinking is. Why? Because the world is in the hands of Satan. And the merchants work for them, and the Vatican works for him, and the politicians work for him. And I'm talking about Satan. Yeah, they do. They do. Anyways, let the Holy Spirit guide you.